Hello and a very warm welcome back to Widowed AF. You're here with me. I'm your host, Rosie Moss. Now, on this podcast, those of you who are regular listeners will be aware that what happens is people either apply or they're invited on and they come on and they tell their story. And the idea is that not only are we sharing these stories, because, that's really important. We know the value in storytelling, but also we're trying to give you a little bit of hope, which perhaps sounds peculiar when we're telling stories about death. But what you'll find in each of these stories is there is always a bit of hope. And joining me today, I don't actually know where in the world she's from. I'll ask her in a moment. I've got Zoe Flory. Hi, Zoe.
Hello, Rosie.
I know you're British. That's the first thing. Whereabouts are you?
At the minute, I am near Rugby.
So okay. Sort of Midlands, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, lovely. I'd just like to know. Don't know why. I should have a little map I could put you all on, really. So welcome. Now, Zoe has sent me in an application. So I know a few details about your story. I know that your husband was called Patrick. I know that he died terribly young at 36. And I know that it was bowel cancer. I also know a few more bits, but I'm going to let you do the talking here, Zoe. No, I'm going to stop hijacking your episode. So welcome to the podcast and tell me a little bit about your story. Tell me what brings you here.
So what should I start from the beginning?
Start from the beginning. Yeah, we can go round in circles. We can go. Yeah, there's no structure to this podcast. You just tell me. I tell you what. Let's start. Tell me how you met Patrick.
Okay, so I met Patrick in 2008, and I had just moved to Oxfordshire. I was living in a field.
Oh,
yeah. So basically, I had run away from my entire life. I'd been in this long relationship, and I just ditched it all and ran away with the people. I was living in a pub with this couple. They sold the pub and said, "Oh, we've bought another pub in Oxford." And I went, "Can I come with you?" And they said yes. So we went, but
amazing.
We couldn't get into the pub for 6 weeks. So we were camping out in this field in a caravan. The first day we got the keys to this pub in this tiny village in the middle of nowhere. And we went, right, let's go open. And Patrick was the first customer that came in that was anywhere near my age. So they were all 60-year-old men. So I was like, right, you're my victim for the evening. And flirting, ridiculous behaviour, and then for me, it was all just a bit of fun. And then he came back the next day and the next day. And the next day I was like, oh no, what have I done? And we were like spending loads of time together, being like really friendly, but I was not interested.
Not looking for a relationship. I know how this story goes.
I was looking to find myself, yeah. And then he said, "Do you want to come out for a drink?" And I went, "Just as friends." And we went out for a drink. And by the end of that night, I was like, "Oh my God, like I am so into this guy." And from that day on, we were inseparable.
They always turn up when you least expect it, then, don't they?
That really wasn't, yeah. And I moved in with him like 2 weeks later.
Wow.
Yeah, but it was actually his mum's house. He was visiting home from uni. So he'd just finished uni. He was living in Brighton. So the fact that he even came in the pub that night was so random.
Oh, the universe had a plan, eh?
Absolutely, yeah. So then, and then we were just together. We, a few months later, moved to Brighton, which he'd been at uni there for a few years. And we were there for 7 years, I think. And through that time, we ended up running our own pubs. And I turned him into a chef.
Oh, wow.
He wasn't a chef, but he was naturally very good at cooking, and job opportunities came up. And I was like, off you go. Come on, be a chef. And then we can do this together. And and it worked out really, really well for us. And we were partying a lot.
Of course, you were in Brighton, you were young.
Yeah, and we just had like the best time, and life was just so fun. And we were just living our best lives, really. So we were there until, I think, 2014, we left, and we went travelling for 6 months, and then we went back to his mum's house for a bit, and then we bought a pub in the Midlands, and that's what brought us here, yeah. So, and then 2018, I had Addie. So we'd been in the pub 1.5 years at that point, like slaving away, killing ourselves, 80-hour weeks, but
It's
making it
not for the
worse.
faint-hearted, is it?
And no, it's not. And it was going really, really well. And then Addie was born. So I took time off work, and then COVID hit.
Oh
And
gosh, with a
and we got to
pub.
spend a year. Yeah. I mean, we did takeaways, but we did a refurb while the pub was shut, which was great. We had the best year in COVID, in lockdown. It was just literally the best year we could have had, with just the three of us
Just
together.
hunkered down, got to know your
Yeah.
baby.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, there's probably so much more to our
Well,
story, but most
I
of it
say
was
we'll probably flip
having
back and
fun.
forth a bit. This is how it normally goes, but I like to have a little understanding of kind of what your relationship was like. Otherwise, we kind of understand the person that got sick and died, but we don't understand, or we don't get to hear about the person that lived. And I
Yeah.
think that's a really important thing to do here. So you've got this. I mean, funny enough, I was born in Oxford, and also lived in Brighton. So you're living this idyllic life. You know, all around you, the world is kind of going to shit in COVID, but you've got this really solid family unit. I'm hypothesizing, but I can going to get a feel for what it was like. Now, at some point, something went badly wrong, and would you take me to there when Patrick perhaps first started noticing that there was issues with his health?
Yeah, so it was definitely in the late summer of 2020, he started having some gastric issues. We thought it was a wheat intolerance or
Hmm.
a dairy intolerance, something
Anything,
really
right?
basic. So he started cutting certain foods out, and and but he seemed fine, but just like something wasn't quite right. Um, and then it was just steadily not getting any better. But at no point did we think
No.
something seriously wrong with you here. Um, so I mean, we laughed about the boiled Christmas, because he couldn't have he wasn't eating any fat, so we're not making him. So at Christmas we literally had a boiled chicken.
Mm.
Yeah, delicious, and like really
Festive.
just basic veg. But obviously it was still a bit COVIDy, so it was just the three of us at home alone. Um, so yeah, it just didn't seem that he'd lost a little bit of weight, but that was because he wasn't
I was thinking that
eating
could
all
be
the
the exclusion
foods
diet,
that
couldn't it?
yeah, exactly. And then it kind of got to just after Christmas, and he'd been to the doctors, and just it just didn't seem like anything that was anyone was going to take any interest in. So I convinced him to go to see someone privately. So
Hmm.
just pay, and then at least you'll get some attention. Someone can investigate. Someone can. But
Peace of
even that,
mind.
I had to push him into doing that. So he went to see the gastroenterologist, and that would have been January 2021. And they started doing investigations. And then at that point, he started to get quite poorly, and he was getting loads of fluid on his abdomen. And they started like draining it. So even before his diagnosis, there was some major illness coming in.
Yeah.
And at
What
that
are you
point,
thinking at this point? Have you dared to kind of consider cancer, or is it just not on your horizon?
it was not on my horizon at
Mm.
all. I mean, I don't know really what I thought it would be, but he had obviously endoscopies, he had a colonoscopy, and that was the first time obviously they found something in the colonoscopy that I went, okay, this is cancer.
Mm.
But I still thought, it's colon cancer. You are young, they'll take it out, you'll have treatment, and everything will carry on. This
Yeah.
will be a blip. But clearly that was not
I
the
think that's a
case.
really, really common process, particularly when people are young, because cancer is something that happens to other people first. Then it's something that definitely kills other people, but not young, fit people that
Yeah.
we love.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
super healthy. He was such a strong guy, like,
yeah,
he's a big, broad, strong bloke, and you just think, yeah, nothing can take this
nothing
guy
can fell
down.
him, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. So how was Patrick at this point? Because men often can be quite private when they're worried about their health.
Yeah, and he was a super private guy anyway. And he was stoic, like
Mm,
stoic to the end. Yeah, he didn't show any fear at that point. And he was just going through all the steps that he needed to do.
mm,
Um,
And
But
what
he
was
was
that process like? Talk me through a little bit about what your life was like at this point.
well, at that point, he was getting iller. They were having to drain fluid off his
Mm.
abdomen, and I think the first drain, they got 11 litres out of it.
Jesus.
Yeah, and that all that fluid that he was carrying around made him feel really nauseous.
I'm not surprised. It must be almost like being on a boat.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so he was just like he felt sick all the time. So from that point on, from that like late January, he spent pretty much all of his time lying down because if he was sat up, he felt sick.
And how are you managing with the pub?
Where were we at that point? So we still weren't fully.
It was still in, out, shake it all about, wasn't it?
It was in, out, shake it all about, wasn't it? We had because there was a reopening and then there was eat out to help
Yeah.
out, which was just insane. I mean, that was in 2020, wasn't it? That was reopening. Yeah. So at this point, he's not at work. He is not well enough, and his lower chefs are doing.
So you've got people picking up the
Yeah,
slack.
and I was still kind of like on my very long maternity leave, and we had a manager in place, so the pub was
Yeah.
not a concern for us at all. We were just focused on Patrick.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then he had a few drains. And then we're getting close to D-Day, aren't we? Yeah, diagnosis day, which was the 15th of February.
It's funny, isn't it, how the dates are just ingrained in your mind.
Absolutely. Like the diagnosis day for me is actually ingrained more traumatic than his death day. That is the day that everything came crashing down.
In your application, there was one sentence that I actually wrote down in my notes, and it was it's really, I find it difficult to read it out. So it's we found out he was already dying, and this sentence, although yes, this must happen to other people, I don't think I've ever heard anybody put it quite like that. That's the point that you realise that they're dying and they're on a train somewhere that you're not boarding.
Yeah. So when Patrick got his diagnosis, I wasn't even in the room. So I drove to the hospital and we were still in and out of the COVID restrictions, and I didn't know if I could go in with him. So I waited in the car, and they said to him, "Do you want her to come in?" And he said no. And he did it all on his own. And then he got back in the car. He drove home. I don't know how he did it. And then we were home for a couple of hours before he could manage to tell me.
So he came out of the hospital, and he was just sort of stony silence. Because you must have been, come on, tell me what's going on.
Absolutely. Because I'm thinking, right, okay, a treatment plan, like, what we're going to do. He just didn't say much, but he didn't. I mean, he must have been in shock, and he just didn't know. I think he hid it really well. I mean, Patrick had an amazing ability to everything is fine kind of face on, and you can't really see into him. Whereas me, I'm like, I'm an open book. Same. I can't hide it. Any emotion is there. So yeah, I mean, I really did not have a clue what he was gonna. Yeah.
And what did he say when he told you?
So I was just like pulling bits of information out from him, and then he just came out with it. He just went, "They've given me 6 months."
Shit. And that's huge, isn't it? Because the doctors they don't like giving timelines. They normally try and remain really positive. We've got lots of treatment options to try, but they're not even saying, "Oh well, we can try and prolong," or there might be a cure. It was just this is end game.
Because it had the cancer that really did him the damage was the fact that it spread to his peritoneum, which is like the lining around the stomach, like in front of the stomach, and. I spent a lot of time looking into treatments and things and possible things and,
wild and wonderful alternatives.
Oh my God. I went deep into I was like, if we can just get you to Germany for this new,
put you in an oxygen chamber, feed you cannabis.
They'll open you up, they'll spray your stomach. And I mean, I was absolutely delusional because the man couldn't even get in a car, let alone get on a plane.
But you're desperate.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I spent the next month like really thinking that that there was a solution, or there was something
Must
we
be.
could do. If we can just buy a little bit more time, and he knew from the start that this was it, and there was nothing that could be done.
And I guess when you've been given such a short timeline, there must be a point at which you have to make the choice to stop fighting and try and enjoy is probably not the right word, but savor the time that you've got. And I suppose whilst you're spinning around in circles thinking there's got to be a solution, there's got to be a cure, you're almost, that denial is creating a barrier between the you. I'm trying to I've lost my words, but do you know, does it make any sense what I'm trying to say? That whilst
Yeah.
you're sort of frantically looking for answers, you're almost losing that time together. Did you have to at some point make a choice? Okay, we're going to just face this now.
No, Patrick
No,
did not cope well with his diagnosis at all. He was, I mean, he was in bed for 2 weeks at one point, like not long after. Like,
with mental health sort of crap. Yeah,
I mean, he was super sick as well. And at the time, I was like, oh, it's because he's just so ill. But when I kind of look back after it, I was like, I mean, he just couldn't
how
couldn't
could
take
you?
it, couldn't accept it. You know, some people look like, you know, they're very accepting of their fate, and you know, all these. And no, he just.
And kind of, I'm with him, right? You know, you're 36. You've got a baby that you now know is you're not going to see grow up. You've got a partner
And
that you
they
love.
absolutely adored each other. Like, Addie wanted her daddy. If she got hurt, like literally, get away, mummy. Like,
Oh yeah, so
it is all
it's
about.
horrible after you've carried them, fed them, you know.
Yeah, and all of that. Yeah, absolutely. But I was like, I was so excited by that. I was quite happy to be like the bad
Yeah.
guy, and for them to be like this little, you know, it's Addie and Daddy, and they were just these little peas in a pod. And yeah, he used to do this really cute thing where if she got hurt, he'd do daddy magic. I'm going to do daddy magic now. And he'd clap his hands together, rub them, build up the magic, and then he'd lay them on her and go, pow. And do
Of
you know what? It
course.
worked. It worked. Doesn't work when I do it now.
Oh, of course not. No, we've got to have the dad magic.
Yeah, he definitely had healing hands. Like, yeah, he's quite a magic guy.
And when you're in a situation like this, do they refer you to counselling? Do they? I hear so many different stories. So, what was the sort of the care like for you? Were you given support at this point?
It was all medical, like
Hmm.
straight into palliative care, nurses coming over, and all that kind of stuff. But no, I don't think either of us wanted it. We just wanted to be left alone as much as possible, and just to get on with it. I mean, I because he had like endless health complications in this short time. There wasn't a day that went by that there wasn't some crisis.
It seems to just have come on so quickly.
Yeah, honestly, it was just like a train wreck to watch. Like, yeah, just this decline and just endless health problems.
Do they think that he'd had the cancer for some time, but due to being fit and young, it sort of had been hidden? Yeah.
And he must have, they must have had it for a while. Obviously, we learned that Patrick had Lynch syndrome
Oh,
down the line, which is now obviously a family concern. Both his sisters have now been tested and they're positive, and
oh
they're now
goodness.
on a pathway where they get regular, you
Regular
know,
screening.
invasive investigations and things like that. And one of them's already had a hysterectomy. No, I think they've both had hysterectomies now, like all this preventative stuff. But
Wow.
yes, and then we've all got kids, so there's all that to look forward to in the
And there's a lot
future.
of, because John's first wife died from bowel cancer, and she
Yeah,
had Lynch syndrome,
yeah.
and so I've got a little bit of knowledge around it. But it's you can't have children tested until they're 18, can you?
Well, you can if they're
Oh,
showing symptoms of ill health, they will, but they won't do it
oh.
before they're 18 because generally nothing presents and there's nothing to be done if you're not, you know, they're
And
only
there's
gonna
the
do
kind of
anything.
moral issue, isn't it, about whether you tell a child that they might have a predisposition to the same cancer that killed their parent. I
I
mean,
know,
that's a
it's so tricky, and we haven't actually, as the grown-ups, had a proper conversation about it yet, because I feel like we should all be on the same page coming at this together. But Ethan is 13 now, who's my nephew, and Addie's the youngest, who's 6.5. So there's quite a big window of like, how are we going to introduce that information
yeah.
to them? I mean,
Yeah,
at the
because you
right
don't want it to
time, the
land
right
on them on their
way.
18th birthday.
Oh,
And especially these children who've been bereaved, quite often they might get a life insurance amount, lump
oh
sum
my
on their
God.
18th, and they find out they might have this gene. You can just imagine I know what I'd have done, and it wouldn't have been go to university because I'd have, been like, well, I'm going to die
Built
anyway.
yourself
What's the
up already.
point?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That's a really tough one. And you mentioned his sisters. Were his and his family? They are in Oxford. Did you say?
Well, they all started off in Oxford, but nobody's there now. So Patrick's one of his sisters in Surrey, and the other one's up here, and she's just down the road from
Oh,
us.
oh, wow, that's
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, it is nice. And her two girls and my little one are really close.
So and were they quite supportive during this time?
Yes, they were.
Yeah,
I mean, it was really hard for everybody,
of course,
and everybody dealt with it in
in a
their
different
own
way. Yeah,
way. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I think my sister-in-law looked after Addie a lot in that time when
and
I
that's kind of what you need is somebody that you love and trust that will look after your child,
yeah,
because you know that in that moment you can't be everything to everybody. You can't be nurse, wife, carer, and be an amazing mum all at the same
yeah,
time.
exactly.
You
It's
need
not
somebody.
possible, is it?
No, it's not. And it's one of the biggest struggles I've had is how do you grieve and parent? How do you
Mm,
adequately process your own grief and honour the person that's died while also making sure that your kids get to school, remember to brush their teeth, that you give them it's a battle and it still goes on. And actually talking about Addie, so she'd be very young at this point, but she was she aware that Daddy wasn't very well? Were you able to have a conversation
she
with
was
her?
definitely knew that Daddy wasn't well
Mm.
because obviously, he's changing. He can't be the same person I mean, he really struggled once he'd obviously had his diagnosis. He could barely look at her for a while.
Mm.
Like, it was just too heartbreaking. But yeah, I mean, she couldn't jump on him because we had to be careful of
Did she
Daddy
respect that
coming.
rule? Because I don't know as mine would.
Daddy's in pain and he's sick, and there's all, we're off to hospital all the time. And but she took it all in her stride. Like,
They're amazing, aren't they?
yeah, I mean, 2.5, as long as they're getting their basic needs met. And so I was just trying to, yeah, juggle, keeping her happy and stable.
And they
And
are, in a way, they're quite a good distraction. I know we just said it's
are the
difficult, but
best distraction.
yeah. So when Ben died, Tabitha was 6 months old, and I didn't want her to just grow up really sad. And I can remember going, and I've mentioned this a few times, sitting in the church hall doing Wind the Bobbin Up whilst my husband had just died. But you can't. They kind of stop you just wallowing, for want of a better word. You
Absolutely.
have to get
Yeah.
up and do.
And they do bring out the best in you in those
Mhm.
times, don't they? Because you think about them. And yeah, I mean, I've spent the past 4 years making sure that Addie isn't defined by
Oh, that's
the
what
loss of
I'd
her
like to
father,
say. Yes.
and that life is good, life is
Yeah.
amazing and wonderful, and there's so much to be got out of it. So yeah,
Yeah. And
so
that's so important. It's that showing them that there's a wonderful world out there, showing them that terrible things do happen, but it doesn't mean, that's one of the kind of my kind of catchphrase with the kids is, this is an awful thing that happened to you, but it is not going to define who you become.
yeah, yeah. And I lost my mum when I was 6 years old, who was
Did
also
you?
36 when she died.
Oh gosh,
So
I'm so sorry, Zoe. That's awful.
um, so I was like, I know what Addie's, not exactly because she's her own person, but I know what her life will hold for her in
Yeah.
in the grief and the loss, and what it's like to be a bereaved child.
And I imagine
Unfortunately,
things are very different now because
yeah,
when we were children, I can't speak from your experience, but it was much less. We don't talk about them. It's yeah,
absolutely, we just didn't talk about it,
yeah,
and which is insane because we talk about Patrick all the time.
yeah,
Like, he's
same,
very present in our lives.
yeah.
Like, so yeah, I had and I was determined that she was not going to have anything like the experience that we
I'd
had
actually
as
quite like
kids.
to talk to you about this. I've got a book with publishers at the moment, and I'm missing quite like to have a bit about the loss of a mum or a small child. So I might tap you up
Okay.
if you would be interested in talking to me about. I'll save that for off the mic though, Shay. Um, so as things began to deteriorate, and you're realizing that this is not going to have a happy ending, you must have had to start putting plans into place. And when somebody is terminally ill, they sometimes don't want to engage in those conversations. Was that your
Yeah.
experience?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a point where I mentioned about putting some of his recipes down to like hand down to
Yeah.
Addie, and he looked at me like I'd stabbed him in the heart. Like, honestly,
Oh.
yeah, couldn't even fathom
So
the
he
thought
just didn't
of
want to
it.
confront that mortality.
No.
And that, I'm thinking of you actually, because although he must have been absolutely terrified, you must have so badly wanted to kind of capture as much of the essence of him as you could, get him to write these recipes, get him to maybe write some notes.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, he couldn't do any of it. No, I mean,
and kind of, I can't imagine it. I can't imagine staring down the barrel of that and knowing that I wasn't going to see my daughter.
yeah, I mean, I don't think any of us know who we'd be
No.
in that situation. We like to think that we do all the right things, but I mean, unless it happens to you, you haven't
No,
got
of course not.
a
I'll
clue
probably
how you
start
can
drinking
be.
and knowing me.
Yeah, absolutely. Just maybe some heroin.
Yeah, load me up, baby. Now, in your notes, you said that sort of towards the end, Patrick really, really hated being in hospital and he wanted to come home. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so anytime he was in hospital, he was miserable. They couldn't manage his pain at any point.
Oh, and that's awful for you to watch as well.
Probably shouldn't say this, but I used to sneak him painkillers in when I would visit.
No, I don't think anybody's going to prosecute you, don't worry.
And he'd take them at the start, but as he got iller and iller, he became more like compliant to the doctors and nurses. And I've got these, and he's like, no, that I can't take them. It's not my 4-hour window or whatever. And I'm like, man, he's dying.
Yeah.
Like, who cares at this point? It's not like he's going to get an addiction. Like, just dose him up. The least we can do is take some pain away.
And, if a miracle happened and he survived and he's got an addiction to opioid, we'll deal with that when the time comes, right?
Absolutely, yeah. That's the least of your worries, isn't it? That's a wonderful problem to have.
Yeah. Funny how you sort of compass skews in these situations, isn't it?
So yeah, anytime he'd go in, which was at least once a week, he was admitted. So every time he was due to have a chemo, they'd do his bloods. Not once were the bloods okay. So he'd have to go in, they'd have to get his levels to wherever they wanted him before they'd then let him go and then go and have a chemo. I think we only ended up having 3 chemos in the time because there was just so many barriers. And again, at that time, I'm like, what does it matter? Like, just get it in there, Yes, his bloods are going to be wrong because he's
got cancer.
He's dying.
And when he had chemo, did you get like a little bit of a rebound? Was he more himself, or did it knock him for 6?
Nothing really. We didn't really see. They gave him 2 options. There was traditional chemo, or they said because of the Lynch syndrome, immunotherapy. If it will work for you, would definitely give you more. If it starts to work, they're quite effective. So obviously, he or we had to make the decision about which one to go for, and the immunotherapy just seemed like it was the best chance. But it didn't do anything. There was no changes at all. That obviously there was some side effects, like there was some hair loss and stuff, which then made me think it's working. But actually that doesn't mean it's working. It just means that it's making your hair fall out.
So he's subjecting himself to treatment and his hair's falling out and the side effects, and that's not having any effect. It's like these doors are slamming shut in your face all the time.
Yeah. And then, so there was many hospital visits. At one point, they stopped being able to drain the fluid off of his stomach, even though it looked like there was so much on there. But I think the tumours had grown so much that what we thought was fluid was actually just these masses of so they stopped draining him, at which point he then started getting fluid on his lung. And I said, I'm pretty sure that this fluid has come from the ascites that was in his stomach, and something's ruptured, something's moved, and it's now finding a way to get somewhere in his lungs. And the doctors were like, no. But they sent him for an appointment to see the plural nurses at Kettering, who were amazing. And when we finally got there, and they put a drain in, and they got like 5 litres out, and it clearly, like, your lungs can't hold 5 litres, so this is coming from somewhere else. It's just found a way. So then that gave him some relief, like now that we were getting fluid off his lungs, and that became our next step. They trained me how to do it, so I was doing his lung drains at home.
Bloody hell. You've got your doctor's degree, have you? Your medical degree?
I just
deserve one, I think. All cancer adjacent people deserve some sort of medical qualification for what you've learned.
Mini qualifications.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, and it seems so surreal now to go through and do all the things that you do in that time when you're dealing with these crazy situations. But anyway, back to he hated being in hospital. He was miserable. And I would be on the phone all the time, like just trying to get him out. I'm like, we've got so little time. I was almost like, just leave him alone, like let him be. And I would go and I'd turn up with a wheelchair, I'm gonna break him out. Like I'm literally going to just go and get him and bring him home.
And did you?
Yeah, once I did.
Did you?
Yeah. So I was just like, and it was just, he didn't need to be there. They weren't helping him. He wasn't feeling any better. He wasn't.
And was hospice an option at this point?
The hospice was never an option.
Why is that?
He did not.
Oh, that was him. Very much.
He didn't want to, and I didn't want to. I was so stressed any minute that he was out of my sight and that I wasn't the one caring for him that, I couldn't have.
No.
And he didn't want to. He wanted to be at home. And that was absolutely fine with me.
Were you worried about him dying at home? Were you worried about the impact that might have?
No, we just knew that was,
that's what he
if it had turned out a different way, we would have been really upset that he would have died somewhere that he wasn't, comfortable and didn't want to be. So we fully prepared for that. So at one point, Patrick got a blood clot in his lung. And he obviously had to go into hospital because that was really, really dangerous. And he could have died. He ended up having to get an ambulance. And where we were living, there was steps up to our house. There were steps everywhere, and he could no longer tackle steps. So at that point, that was in early May. We went to live in the annex of his sister and mum's place. So Patrick's mum and sister bought this house together with an annex. So the sister, they've got the big house, and Leslie was living in the annex on the side, and Leslie hated it. It was too small for her. And then they rented the house next door on the other side, and they put a gate in. So it's like this big whole commune, and the kids run through, like it's lovely. So we went to stay in the annex then because there were no stairs, and it worked really well because then Addie essentially became the third child of her cousins, and I could just focus on Patrick, and he was on oxygen, and it became much easier. His ability to walk was decreasing. I could just wheel him around, and we set him up on a bed, on the sofa bed, and then eventually we got him a medical bed that went in the other room. So it just made life much more manageable.
And having other people literally on site to help out, that makes a world of difference, right?
It does. It really does. And just having people there, though, we didn't see them as much as maybe I should have said something. Maybe I should have said, I need more help.
Difficult words to say those.
It really is. And it was hard because Patrick didn't really want to see anybody apart from me. I think he just felt shame for his situation, and he was always such a proud guy, and I just don't think he liked anybody seeing him like he was, and because you couldn't help but look at him and must have just seen the trauma on everybody's face. So they didn't, I always think if that was my child, I would be there 24/7. You could tell me you don't want to see me, you don't want me there, but I'd literally be hovering just in the other room. I'm like, I'm not going anywhere. But I think it was just really hard for his mum to see.
Yeah, to see that and to see the deterioration. Yeah. So you were given 6 months, and that was in February. Okay, so we're now April, May. We're 3 months in. How long did you get?
We got 4.5 months.
4.5 months.
Yeah. So he died 27th of June, 5 days before our wedding
Oh,
anniversary.
and he got the diagnosis like one day after Valentine's as well.
Yeah. Oh, and one day after. Yeah. No. Yeah, it was his mum's birthday.
Yeah, they love this. My Ben died in March. My birthday's in March. It's like, dude,
These things couldn't be better times.
No.
So.
And again, if this gets too difficult, please tell me to stop asking nosy questions. But how severe was the decline, and what was your life like towards the end? And then perhaps if you're comfortable doing so, talk me through what his sort of final days, hours were like.
I mean, yeah, life was. We were all insane. We were just.
How were you coping?
People.
Were you just literally head down, keep going?
Yeah, I mean, drinking,
yeah,
lots of drinking, and just keep. I mean, I was just so focused on his care and looking after him that's kind of what kept me going. There was in the early days, I became really obsessed with how many calories he was taking, and I would keep a log because he couldn't. It's a
way of getting control, isn't it?
It was crazy. I was like, had this and I'd make him these like 2,000 calorie milkshakes because like it's all he could consume. And I'd be like, right, yeah, I've got this many calories in him, and if he didn't finish it, I'd get really frustrated.
Take it really personally.
Yeah. And just think like, why is he's not trying? He's not trying. Like, why isn't he? But
and you just so badly want them to be well. And that counting of the calories, it's a bit like when you've got a baby and you're sort of writing down when they feed. I mean, I wasn't one of those people.
When they feed, when they sleep,
trying to get some control back when you feel completely powerless.
Yeah. And it was just something to have control over, wasn't it? And something to obsess over. So the whole time was just, I mean, it all seems a bit of a blur in some ways because it was so trauma ridden. And I would say every time I would get in the car, I was hysterical. That would be my place. Like I keep control. And then I'd be driving and it would just be like, I'd just be wailing, sobbing. Like you can't even.
When you have to pull over, you can't see.
Can you? Like you can't give an example of because you don't.
No.
It's impossible to do. But that was my space to like break down. But yeah, day to day would just be just managing his illness, trying to keep him washed and cleaned, and because actually he couldn't shower.
And these are all the kind of stripping of his dignity, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. And I think he really, really felt that. There are just things that you never think you're going to do to a person, like when you're having to like wipe a bum, like you're shocked by it.
It's when you realise how much you love somebody, isn't it?
You're shocked by it later because at the time you don't question it, do you? Like you just do what needs to be done.
Yeah.
So he was. So we were there. So it was my birthday in May as well. So 2 weeks after. So that's when he'd had his blood clot, and we were in the hospital. That's when they told him that they were going to stop the treatment. So that was the start of May. And basically it was just, right, okay, now we are literally going home to die. Now it's like, this is it. And
at this point, would he talk about it?
Not really.
No. And were you like, I'm putting myself in your shoes. I'm thinking I'd want to have all those really deep and meaningful conversations. And
I just wanted him to be as okay as he could be. It's all of my trauma at the time was not really for me. It was for him. Like what he doesn't get to have, his losses, his, and the rest of it. I had time.
Yeah, you sort of put that into a box.
Focus on those things. Yeah, but at the time it was all our devastation for Patrick, and it was all about him. So I just wanted what he wanted. I just wanted him to be as okay as he could be. And he was so sick that really took over any emotional needs or wants, because the physical ones were just were right there and they just needed addressing.
How were you managing his pain during this?
He was smoking a lot of weed.
Was he?
Yeah, and he'd never liked cannabis before. Not his thing. But that really helped him.
Yeah.
So he was on Oromorph. paracetamols. He was on a fentanyl patch at one point, just all these different pain meds. And
Of
yeah,
course, the side
they never
effect is,
really seem to like touch the sides.
and when they're on things like fentanyl, you begin to lose a bit of more of them as well. It's a real, I know people who when they've been very sick, they've said they don't want the fentanyl because they want to be able to communicate. But
Yeah.
it must be so difficult. And what I'm hearing as you're talking is, like the term, like doulas, and you get grief doulas.
Oh
I've
yeah.
heard of recently, and it sounds like you were kind of that for him. You advocated and you put your own needs to one side temporarily, I hope, whilst you cared for him and gave him everything that you possibly could. And I'm sort of thinking that if I was ever terminally ill, I want somebody like you in my corner, actually.
Just someone, yeah. I mean, it was never a question though. I loved and adored Patrick. I would have done absolutely anything for him. So it wasn't a choice. It was just a natural reaction to just, yeah.
That says quite a lot about you, I think. And when in this month, did you notice a really big decline, or did you sort of plateau?
Yeah, he
Tell you what,
started.
did you get that one good day where they kind of come back to life a bit,
We
quite
had
close
an
to the end?
evening, yeah, and it
Yeah,
was about 3 days before he died that, yeah, when I was remember, like, from the day Patrick had his diagnosis, I was very aware that I didn't see him again, like my Patrick, like
mm-hmm.
my man, my love, he was gone. Like the diagnosis, like, just stripped him of his heart and soul. And then this one night, yeah, he was him again. Like, for this one evening, I was so elated, like, just to see him. Like,
A
there he
glimmer,
is. Like, yeah, hi. Um, so yeah, it was nice to have one little last.
bittersweet, though, right?
Yeah, yeah. But he was sleeping loads more. Just getting frailer. I'd called my sister in that last week. I said, it's going to happen this week. Like, I need help. You need to come now. And bless her, she told work she wasn't going in. Like, she literally just went, I'm going to my, and she came and, like, supported me and helped me, like, physically as well with him. Because even
Mm-hmm.
though he was, like, stripped down to, like, barely anything, still a big bloke.
Yeah,
We're actually quite difficult to move around. Like, you think,
yeah,
oh, I should be able to just lift you up, you waif. But actually, no, it was heavy. So, but more like emotional support. She was, like, really good. And actually, my sister and Patrick were never, like, best buds. Like, they got on, but not, like, they didn't have a connection. But actually, she brought out some happiness in him while she was there, and I was a bit jealous, actually.
yeah.
Like, she's like, he's letting her, like, massage his hands, and they were talking about things, and I was just like, oh my god, like, wow, like, but it was nice that anybody managed to have that,
Yeah.
get that out of him, or make him feel a little better, that he could have conversations and have, like, yeah, and have a
Gosh, you're
connection.
so
Like,
kind-hearted, very generous-hearted you are.
oh, thank you.
And
So yeah, that last week, yeah, he was sleeping more, and you could see struggling a bit more. And there's one point I couldn't wake him up to take his medication, like, literally could not rouse him. I had an absolute breakdown at that
of
point.
course.
I was just like, he's gone, it's happening, like, he's gone into a coma, like, literally just in pieces. And me and Eva sat there, and I'm, like, sobbing, and, like, I've kind of composed myself. And it was like an hour later, he's just like, ping, and he was awake. And I was just like, oh god, he's back. And that was the first time I think I kind of steeled myself to.
You had a trial run.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And then, yeah, and he was absolutely one, what had become his normal self, but yeah, I was just like, how could you be in that, like, and deeper sleep, that you are unrousable?
And unrousable for pain meds as well. You'd think that would have roused him, if nothing
Yeah.
else.
Yeah. So at that point, we called the district nurse, and just said, look, we need more I think we need some more pain relief and some more like sedation. And so she came, and we had a real problem with getting the medication that he needed because of what they'd prescribed him. They prescribed him like a painkiller and something that like dries you up inside because of all the fluid. And she spent, oh my God, like an hour on the phone, like trying to like get the right medication crossed over to what they can administer. And then my sister had to go off to like 6 different pharmacies and like collect it. So clearly he was on a weird regime of meds, and like had to get it all together. And then so she gave him like the injection, and like he was starting to get a bit odd at that point. Like he said to me, he's like, Zoe, am I being weird? I just went, yes, darling. Can't be the voice. I've never been able to lie to him. Like, and he's like, why did you say yes? I was like, well, I just
Honest.
It's truth. Like I couldn't help it. And he was like, got his mum over, and gave her a big hug and told her that he loved her. So at this point, we're like, he's gearing up for this. Like, and then we thought it would go on for days and days and days. And my mother-in-law was a nurse, and she has obviously seen, people dying. She used to run care homes. So she's like, geared us all up that this could go on for weeks even. He was a strong man. Like this could be, he could just be unconscious now for quite some time. But it was less than 24 hours.
Wow.
But we held a vigil around his bed that night that he just obviously gone into this sleep, and he was just kind of, comatose, for, want of a better word. So we did what Patrick would have wanted us to do, and we all just sat round drinking around him, like
music,
and had a party with him, because that would have been Patrick's ideal situation.
And I suppose
he
you
was
like
an
to
absolute
think
party man.
that if they on some level can hear what's going on around them, then to leave this world surrounded by the voices of the people that you love.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
And what about Addie? Was she with you?
She was with us, but not at that point. She was staying, so she stayed over next door, and my sister-in-law's mother-in-law was watching the children that night. So so we all stayed up so late that we all just kind of fell asleep, like around the room. And I remember I got woken up where my brother-in-law had not gone to sleep. Like, thank God, like somebody managed to stay awake, because he'd noticed that Patrick's breathing had changed. So that was like, right, okay, here we go. And it didn't last very long, like that kind of point between being woken up and him actually going. I remember starting to get really upset, and like, no. And his mum was like, just let him have a good death. Like, don't try and take this away from him. And so I like calmed myself. And then like literally he'd done nothing, not moved, not done anything for like this 24-hour period. And in like his dying, I haven't told many people this actually, and he's like dying, I forgot it for a while actually, and someone reminded me, in his dying breath, he said, I love you. And then he was gone. Yeah, I know, like, I was hugging him, and he just like whispered like, I love you. And then
my God,
oh my God,
Zoe, that has made me cry.
Goosebumps. Yeah.
Oh,
I was like, how can you muster that out of like of the ether? Like,
it's a terrible, terrible thing, but a beautiful
it's
end.
beautiful, isn't it? Yeah.
And to have those as his last words, I love you.
And I forgot it because of obviously the trauma of then like literally him dying. It wasn't until about 6 months later that someone reminded me, and I was like, oh my God, like I remember. Like,
isn't the brain horrible? It keeps hold of all the really gruesome, traumatic stuff, but I don't worry about keeping hold of that bit.
Oh no, my brain's quite good at erasing trauma. Yeah, I think it's why I managed to stay so positive, because I'm like, and it's gone.
Yeah. And so what about after? Because then presumably you've got to go and tell Addie. How does that happen?
So I mean, because I've had lots of people say like took days to get round to like telling their kids, but I told Addie quite quickly.
I did.
And I knew that it wouldn't necessarily go in or make sense because she was like 2.5 and a bit. And I took her over to Granny's spot and sat her down and just said, "Look, Daddy's died, and we're not going to get to see him anymore." And she just kind of stared at me.
Went off and played My Little Pony.
It's like, okay, I'm going to go play now.
Yeah.
And and off she went.
Yeah, it's mental when they do that, isn't it?
They don't know what that means, really, do they? So yeah, and she took it all in her stride. I was expecting over the coming months loads of where's Daddy, and not really understanding, but she kind of accepted it really quickly. And there was only, I think, twice where she just needed a bit of clarification that like Daddy's not coming back yet. I think we kind of agreed that Daddy lived on the moon now.
Nice.
Like that was where he was. So that's like, what she had to put him, he had to be somewhere.
Yeah.
In her little small person brain. And that was fine because it's quite a nice thing, isn't it? And you can look at
and that you can always see the moon, right?
Yeah, and it's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. The night that Ben died, I was looking out the window and, like you, I'm gearing myself up to tell the children. And I was fixated on the moon because I was like, well, if he's alive, if he's out there in the water somewhere, we're looking at the same moon, right?
Yeah, yeah. There is a chance, isn't there?
I think it's like when she started school, because I found with Tabby, because she's grown up in a house where she's never really known any different. We talk about Ben, we have lots of photos, it's not a taboo subject at all in my house. I mean, obviously it's not, this is what I do for work. But it always has been. We've always talked, because my friend, was actually my brother's girlfriend at the time. Her dad had died when she was a teenager and they'd not talked about him. And she'd said to me, please make sure you do talk about Ben. And that really stuck with me. So I don't think Tabby kind of felt any different until she started school. And I'm wondering how Addie found that transition of realising that perhaps she wasn't like all the other children.
Yeah, it's kind of starting this year. She's in year 1. Reception.
Oh yeah, they're just running around in circles painting.
Yeah, and she's always been quite mature, grown up for her age, bless her. And she's an older one in the year. But last year, Father's Day, she was quite happy to make Patrick a card and bring it home. But this year she was like, no, I don't want to, because it will make me sad. But she's definitely starting to kind of like play with those feelings and work out, how she does feel.
Because a lot of it at their age is learned. They don't know what these feelings are. And I don't know if you're the same, but I used to find if they were in trouble, there'd be a lot of, I want my daddy.
Yes, and I find that with Addie, when she can't work out if she's upset or sad or something's happened, and her go-to is, I'm sad about Daddy.
Yeah, because that's the big sad.
That's the big sad, and that's the one that makes sense. I mean, sometimes I'm not sure.
Yeah, sometimes I'm definitely being manipulated, but you don't know whether to risk it.
Oh, you can't, can you? You have to allow that. Like, even if you think,
you're being played like a fiddle here.
Like, you can't ever deny that, can you? That is a magic phrase. But you just got to kind of go with it, haven't you? And like, you got to let them have it.
You have. And what about therapy? Have either of you had therapy?
I did one therapy and I didn't get on with it. I sat there and I struggle to like talk about me. Might not seem like that today. I've geared myself.
I'm making you. I'm prompting you.
And I was hoping it'd be a conversation. But she just sat there.
Oh no, not one of the silent ones.
Yeah.
I hate those.
I came out feeling worse. I was like, no.
And I will fill that empty space with absolute twaddle as well.
No, I won't.
You just sit in silence. Funny enough, my parents sent me to a counsellor when I was a teenager, and I used to get the train there, and then she would just sit in silence, and I'd just fall asleep. And I look back and I think, oh, God knows what they were paying for that therapy. I just had a nice nap in.
Really expensive little snooze.
Working a treat. And actually, I do want to ask you what Patrick's funeral was like, because I've got a feeling it would probably have been quite the shindig.
Yes. So Patrick was cremated. I didn't go to his cremation because
Oh.
I was not. It was his. I wasn't ready to say goodbye. I was like, I
Oh.
couldn't. I was like, my relationship with him has just transitioned into something else. Like, I was not. That was too final.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got his ashes now. Like, he's at home with us. But it was something his mum really, really wanted to do. But I was from day one. I was like, no, I'm not. I don't want to do that. And lots of people said, oh, you'll regret it. And I was like, I don't regret it. It was not, I mean, I'm not one for regrets too much. I don't find them very helpful.
No, well, they're not.
So we had a celebration at the pub.
Nice.
Yeah, so we had bands, we had food, we had, like just drinks, photos of him everywhere, all strung up.
Kids running around.
Yeah, it was. And it was a really, really fun day. And at times I was like really enjoying myself.
I know, it's weird, isn't it? You're having the best time, then you remember why you're there.
Yeah. I said, this is the woman that Patrick loved. She is the woman who dances on the table. And then I'm sobbing, and up and down. But it was a wonderful send off. Yeah, it was exactly what he would have wanted.
I thought it might have been.
Yeah, big do. It was a big do. It was messy.
I bet. Yeah, Ben's was as well. We had it at a pub too. And, I can remember going, everybody back to mine. And my mum and dad are quite, they were quite strict and quite worried about me because my drinking was very problematic. And my mum went, I'm going to give you the night off. So she just didn't even, she said, I'm not going to raise an eyebrow. You do what you want.
Yeah.
So, thanks.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for the permission. Yeah, in my own house at 37. Now, in your application, you did share with me something that I really, really want to talk to you about, and it was about your living arrangements.
Oh, what now?
Yeah, talk to me about this. This sounds wonderful. I'm going to let you share.
So I lived at the my mother-in-law and sister-in-law's annex for I think about 6 months after Patrick died, and then I kind of got to a point where I was like, I need to go home. Like, I'm living someone else's life here. Like.
Mm-hmm.
And started to kind of pick myself up. And I moved back to my house in Daventry. And it was lovely to be there. It was so nice. Like, it was really nice just to be home in your own space and all the lovely memories. But I very quickly realised that I couldn't afford to stay in the situation. I was like, I'm either going to have to move or I'm going to have to get a lodger. And like the idea of downsizing from like a 3-bedroom house, I was like, I can afford a flat at the minute. Mm-hmm. I had no life insurance. So, we're just back to like just square one. And then I was just jokingly chatting with a friend of mine who also is my manager at the pub. We were just like, we should just move in together. And like, it didn't, when someone plants a seed and you're like, and your gut goes, this is a really good idea. Like, I've always been one for like, just go with your gut and just do it, action. And then a house came up in the village where the pub is, and we went to view it, and we just put an application in that day. And we're like, yeah, let's do it. And then, moved in a month later. Yeah. So it's me, Alistair and Addie, and he's like a lovely uncle. And he's gay,
isn't he? There's no romantic entanglement.
There's no complications or anything, and he doesn't have any kids, and he knows he's not gonna. So it's really nice for him to have family, and it's really nice for us to have more family.
Of course, the more people that love you, the better, right?
Absolutely, and it's so nice for Addie to have a male, in her life, and he's really musical and like. He loves his gardening, which I hate. So that's nice, and there's all these lovely different things where we look after each other in different ways.
Sort of symbiotic relationship.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it works so well for us. It's so unconventional. And I'm sure half the people at Addie's school think we're married.
Yeah.
And big people at the pub think we're married all the time. And we're like, you live in this village. Like, surely you must know. Like, it's
going to impact if you start dating there, how everyone's going to think you're taken.
I know. So yeah, people are always like, oh, your wife, she's so helpful. And people say to me, oh, your husband. And I'm like, do I correct you? Is it worth it? Like,
and then do we go the whole story?
Exactly. Like, he's gay.
My
Like,
husband's
that's
dead.
the whole reason we're not together, because actually I'm secretly in love with him, but yeah,
Have
no,
you got
it's
him
very
drunk enough?
No. Not my cup of tea. But the one thing I do think, like us living together, like as a kid, I was always really into musicals and like, big drama. And then when I was with Patrick, that kind of part of me just disappeared. It was never his thing. And it's not like I didn't hide it, but it just wasn't something that we shared. So I forgot all about it. And since Alistair and I have been living together, we are like big musical fans. We're there. He plays the piano, and sometimes it'd be 2 a.m. and we're doing Les Mis, like the full score, and just singing and dancing and being like absolute drama kids. Yeah. So I mean, that's quite nice. I feel like a bit of my inner child has come back.
It's weird, isn't it? Because you lose so much of yourself in widowhood. The person, and it's a real cliche, this, but it is true. And the person that you were before, she's
Oh, she's
gone, right?
gone.
She's
Yeah,
gone.
absolutely.
And then you have to go through a bit of a self-discovery journey, and you make changes. You find coping strategies, healthy or otherwise, and you figure out who you are the other side. And I think this is where the hope bit comes in, because you feel so sad. I'll never be the same again. I'll never feel that sense of, you know
Well, you
what it is?
grieve
It's
for yourself as well, don't you? For
yeah,
like the
that
loss of your own
innocence.
person. Yeah.
Yeah, because I believed that, as a general rule, if you were good, good things would happen. Bad things, happened out there somewhere, but not to people that, played by the rules and were generally good people.
Lovely
And it's that
notion.
realization that life is really not fair, and shit things happen, and they might keep happening. And so, yeah, that innocence is gone, and it's having to begin to sort of trust the world again a bit. I think that's what I struggled with. I was always waiting, and to a certain extent still am, waiting for the next hammer to drop, waiting for the next disaster.
Oh,
And
really?
I think that is that PTSD trauma. I think it leaves you waiting for terrible
You're
things.
protecting yourself, aren't
I
you?
think so,
Yeah.
but then what you're actually doing is you're worrying about stuff that hasn't happened, that you're only going to have to worry about if it does. So it's kind of pointless, isn't it? Really.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Unhealthy thought processes, aren't they? Like, yeah.
yeah, yeah. And what about things like keeping Patrick's memory? You talk about him a lot. You've got his ashes at home? Do you have somewhere that perhaps you and Addie go and visit or anything like
Well,
that?
his mum planted a tree
Mm-hmm.
in this woodland that they started developing in her village. So that's kind of started to become a little thing. We went there on Father's Day.
Mm. It's that having somewhere to go, isn't it?
It is nice to have somewhere to go. I mean, for me, like, because I've got him here,
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, but he's with us. So,
Mm-hmm.
that's the space. But I think it's nice for Addie, and she really enjoyed it. And we poured him a beer, and she gave him a Watson and a Ferrero
What's it?
Rocher. And she
Oh,
painted a stone, which was lovely,
we
actually,
do
with
this.
Addie, and laid it at the tree. And then we're like, oh, we could do this. This could become more of a thing,
Yeah.
where, at each event we can go and
And you
put
get
a
little
stone down.
pebbles and draw little messages. Somebody else had drawn one and left them up there, which was lovely, because Ben is not where his stone is. It's a gravestone, because his body's not been found. So he's not there. We interned
It
a
must be
memory
really tricky,
box.
actually, because you know it,
Yeah.
don't you? And you've got this place, but it's almost not superficial. But
I
if
feel
you
like
know
we're
they're
going
not
through the
there, you
motion a
can't.
bit.
Yeah,
Sometimes it feels a bit sort of manufactured almost.
yeah.
But
It's
that
hard to
said,
commit to.
the children do sometimes ask to go. And I suppose what you're doing is you're giving them a focal point,
Yeah,
because we've got lots of tangible memories of them. We've got our babies that are tangible bits of them, but they sometimes need something solid to go to. So
absolutely.
yeah, much like you, we pop over there when the mood takes. We did used to live really nearby. It's now an hour's drive, which is less convenient.
I think it's actually really important for them to have a place to go and like a spot. Because I remember, I have so many stories of my childhood, but here's my dad, like, scattered my mum's ashes at this crematorium, but he didn't book it. He didn't get a place. We literally went and he just ditched them somewhere, like on a tree. So we have no idea where she is. We know that she is in Peterborough Crematorium somewhere.
Somewhere.
But she's lost to us in that sense.
Yeah.
And we just think, oh, we come up with these little plans, like between us, like, we could just go and like wander around, see if we can remember from 40
See if
years
some gut instinct takes us back to that tree.
yeah. So actually, and for us, it would have been really nice to have a place we could have gone or could go now.
What about a bench? You should get a bench.
Yeah, we keep talking about, we talk about getting a bench at the tree. But my mother-in-law really struggles to make decisions. So it'll be an ongoing decision-making process. And yeah, I've thought about benches. The thing is that me and Patrick were quite nomadic, that there isn't
It's finding where, right?
place. And I think, well, I might not be here for forever, because I've been in the Midlands for 8 years now, which is the longest I've ever been anywhere. And half of me is like, I might move.
Yeah. Because you can't take the bench, can you?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I guess you could dig it up.
Yeah, or you'd have to talk to the council.
You would have to talk to the council, or not.
You've still got the pub?
Yeah.
Do you have a special chair for him in there or anything?
No, we don't.
I've seen that sometimes, like a chair with a plaque on it. That's quite nice.
Yeah, we've got a picture of him on the wall, with all these descriptions of him. So his face is there. But no. I think because he was always in the kitchen.
Yeah. He's got his apron hanging up.
I've got all his chef stuff and all his knives and box and things. I'm like, I'm going to show these to Addie at one point.
Yeah. And it's nice because I've found as my boys have got older, they've wanted his things more.
Yeah.
I bought him a joke hat once, which obviously he insisted on wearing. It had these ridiculous flaps and a peak on it. And, my eldest son wore it through the winter, which is quite disconcerting because they look like... Yeah. Oh, Jesus.
Oh, yeah. That must take your breath away a little bit.
He's taller than his dad would have been now. It's crazy. Oh, Zoe, it's been really, really amazing talking to you. You have got a beautiful way of telling your story. And I really, really felt the love for Patrick all the way through that conversation.
Amazing.
He sounds amazing.
Anyone who ever met Patrick fell in love with him. I was always not in his shadow, but definitely not nearly as popular as him, because people just loved him. He was the funniest guy without telling a joke. Never told a joke in his life, but anytime his lips were moving, everybody is laughing.
Just charismatic.
So charismatic and so easily. So he was a very easy man to love.
And are you dating again?
No.
I've
got no interest.
No.
Nothing. No. I'm quite...
You've got a man to take the bins out, haven't you?
Well, I wish he would. He did today, actually, after I went, the bins, because it's a day. But I don't know. It's really weird. I'm really quite
comfortable. Yeah. And that's an amazing place to be able to be at peace.
I don't know how you'd find the time for it, to be honest. I've barely got enough time to do the basic things I do.
I know, right?
Walk and I'd
be such a
my friends. I can't fit another person in that.
And I think that's probably a sign that you're not ready, because it is like a job to meet somebody almost. You have to kind of go through an interview process.
It seems like a whole nother world now, doesn't it? I've never done, I'm not great for social media as it is, or anything like that. So on the online dating,
it's not for me.
No,
unless some, gorgeous, well-balanced, sane man walks into my life and sweeps me off my feet, I'm like you. I'm quite content, actually, and it's nice to be able to focus on the kids and building a life for us.
Absolutely, and
going camping next year. This year. That's
we've already been camping.
Reinventing myself as somebody who likes camping. I'll report back on that one.
We are happy campers.
Are you? Yeah, we're going down to Cornwall. I thought if you're going to camp anywhere, it should be Cornwall.
Yeah, definitely. Beautiful. Have you booked it?
Yes. Oh, yeah. And paid a bloody fortune. Well, what I think is a fortune for a pre-pitch tent, but it's Cornwall in August, right?
Well, it's Cornwall in August, yeah. So it is going to cost.
And I'm not quite brave enough to pitch it's not glamping, it is a normal tent, but I'm not quite brave enough to pitch a tent yet. Maybe next year.
I bought a tent that I can put up on my own. It's like a teepee.
Well, I've got
peg it and I run a pole up the middle and it's done.
That sounds genius. And my eldest son has just done his silver Duke of Edinburgh. So by my reckoning, he's the tent putter-upper. Right.
Show us your skills.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. I drove you all the way there. I want to see some results. Oh, Zoe, it's been lovely. And I really, really hope that we stay in touch, because I think you're awesome. And I would like to talk to you possibly about your mum if you were comfortable doing that. So I'll talk to you in a moment anyway. Is there anything else you want to say? I'd always give you the opportunity, so I don't feel like I've cut you off in your prime.
But I don't think so. I think
that's nothing worse than that question, is there?
Yeah.
Anything you'd like to ask, your mind just goes completely blank. Well, for anybody out there who has been listening, has been, affected or can relate to Zoe's story, please do feel free to message me. I can pass messages on to Zoe as well if you'd like. And for all of you out there who are managing to put one foot in front of the other, consider that your achievement. And I'm very proud of you for managing that. If you're struggling, once again, you can find me. And I am here again very shortly with another episode. Lots of love to you all. It's a bye from me and it's bye from Zoe.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. If you found this episode helpful, hit follow or subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And if you think someone else may benefit from this, please do share. We'd also really appreciate a quick review. It helps more people find the show. Thank you again and see you next time on Widowed AF.